Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 35 of our MakerBot Chats. My name is Felipe. Really happy to have you guys here. Just fixing the camera a little bit. Yeah, as always, really excited to be talking about, or to be talking with you guys in general. Today we'll have an interesting one. It's all about Cloudprint. There's quite a few interesting new features that were released in the past couple of weeks. We'll be going through all of them, and of course, as always, all of your guys' questions, so kind of like an open door for you guys to ask any questions. Alejandra is in the back end capturing all of them. If you have any questions right now in the live session, you can definitely post them on the right-hand side chat, and we'll be looking through all of those. Otherwise, if you're looking at the recording, make sure to post those sections on the comment section down below, and we'll be sure to answer them at a later time. For now, I'll start by taking you guys to our website. Just trying to make sure that everything is working for us. Give me 1 second. Here we go. All right, perfect. Now we're good. I'll start by talking about Cloudprint, what it is. I'm sure you guys have heard about it. If not, this is it. So Cloudprint, it's a new, well, not new, but it's a software that we introduced about a year ago now. It's basically our flagship slicing software. Some of you guys might be aware of or familiar with MakerBot Print. Cloudprint is the cloud version of it. And not only is it the cloud version, but it's like the on steroids version of MakerBot Print. Originally, one of the key features of it was kind of this ability to collaborate remotely, especially within the current context. That was really important. However, this software not only allows you to collaborate across multiple regions, across multiple spaces, across multiple users, but also gives you all of the well-known features of MakerBot Print. So essentially, it allows you to do everything that you could do with and you can do with MakerBot Print and then some, right? It's going to allow you to slice, it's going to allow you to control your machines, especially important being able to track the progress of your work. I'll talk about that in a second. So how do you manage, a larger queue? How do you manage multiple projects? How do you manage multiple prints? I'll just do a quick rundown on the site. But essentially it's three things: printing from anywhere, collaborating with the team, and especially back then, being able to access, and even now, right, access a lot more features on the method. We'll talk about what I mean by that in a second. There's a nice video if you want to watch that out. But yeah, it's essentially our slicing software, basically what connects your computer to the printer, your STL file, your 3D model file to the printer itself. We have, in Cloudprint, you'll be able to do the file preparation, to export, to do the settings, to change anything that you'd like before the file being printed. Then we get into even in the file preparation, there's a few features in Cloudprint that you don't really have in MakerBot Print. And I keep doing this comparison because I know many of you guys out there, including myself, might, kind of be in the fence, might not. We were too comfortable with MakerBot Print, which is a great product. And you could be asking, what's the benefit of Cloudprint if I already have my printer connected here directly, if I don't really need that remote access to it? And the thing is, it does give you a lot more than just remote access to the printer, right? And I've experienced that myself, especially with the queuing elements, especially with the additional slicing features. That it makes it worth your while. I think that we all can be a little bit reluctant sometimes to change platforms, but Cloudprint definitely, it's, I wouldn't say better, but a significant increase in features from MakerBot Print. So starting with file preparation, then we'll jump into one of the first key elements that differentiates Cloudprint, so queuing, the ability to creating a list of prints and sending them out to the printer prior, without them being immediately printed out. So say your printer is busy, it's currently printing, or you're just stacking up the projects. If you're running a lab or if you're running a classroom, it's going to be really useful to just be able to submit the projects, have them line up in the queue, and then manage said queue and be able to just toggle the files that are going to be printed next. Then, of course, you'll be able to print, right? To monitor the printing process throughout, monitor the states of the printer itself, the materials that are loaded, all of the information that you can extract from the printer is going to be live. in that cloud-based format. I'll jump to the platform in just a second. And then the final element, it's easy to understand it, even if you are like working on your own sometimes, like I am, right? I've got my printers right here, so you can wonder like, well, why do I want to report on those prints? And it's only once you start playing with it a little bit that you realize how meaningful it is to have that log of the things that you printed on, not only because of you knowing what you have printed in the past, but also, and especially important, being able to follow iterations, or at least that to me it's like super meaningful, because I'm able to see, okay, this was my V1 of my print, it failed for whatever reason, or I want to make some adjustments and I printed a V2, a V3, and so on, and I'm able to follow that log throughout in Cloudprint, and if I wanted to, print again any one of those files that I've submitted earlier on. Let's jump first into the software already, starting with kind of like our workspace view. So you can see both the members that are part of your Cloudprint environment, basically what I hinted at before, being able to give access to people in Cloudprint. These are my fellow coworkers, Vishnu and Sean, who are able to connect remotely to my printers if they wanted to. Then the second feature we'll talk about, but the most important and critical one in Cloudprint is going to be precisely that slicer, right? And the additional elements that you get with the slicer itself. So let's see, if I chose one of my printers, my local printers here, right? I got my Method X connected here, and I've already preloaded an STL here. In this case, it's gear. It's similar to this one. It's a little bit taller and thicker, but it's essentially the same part. And I'm going to show you some of the cool features about Cloudprint that are unique to Cloudprint and don't currently exist in the slicing for MakerBot Print. Starting with what happens if you chose not to have support not to have supports, and your base layer sort of became also free. You see what just happened? My build plate expanded, right? So single print, single material mode in the method is only available through Cloudprint. What that means is that if you're not using supports, if you're using a single material for the part and maybe the raft, you're able to expand about an inch to the left-hand side of your build plate. I'll do it again just so that you guys can see it. So if I toggle the supports on, the build plate is reduced, and also I'm being shown here kind of like that gray area, which sort of represents my perch tower. We've talked about the perch tower in previous episodes, but that essentially is the area where the extruders will go in and clean themselves up before toggling to the next layer. But if I click none, there we go. Quite a meaningful increase in build plate size. I just printed this guy yesterday. It's a wrench for my bike, and it seems to be a little bit big, but as soon as I was able to access that single material, I was able to print it horizontally without sort of slanting it or moving it around. So gives you that extra space to print on with a single extruder on the method. And as you can see here, it's not only, that's me focusing on just one feature. There's a ton of them here that are displayed under the expert settings, whether you want to change the base layer, the supports, the floors, the infill, the shell, the number of shells, the roofs, every single features that you've been used to in MakerBot Print, and then some, right? There's a lot more features present in Cloudprint just because we are able to track many more things in Cloudprint, and ultimately we are much more focused in Cloudprint because we believe that that's going to be a much better experience for you guys moving forward, a much more powerful product moving forward. So yeah, highly recommended. I think you should really give it a try. Just go to makerbot.com/cloudprint. That'll take you to this site, right? And you can click use Cloudprint now. Even if you don't have a MakerBot printer right now, you can still test it out, right? You can still log into Cloudprint, test out the software, see the slicing features, even if you're not connected to a printer, which is also really cool, right? You'll be able to see a lot of it. So I was going through some of the features and kind of describing the interface. From the get-go on the slicing interface, you're able to just add models, place the models, move them around, change the settings, the extruder settings. You can toggle between different printers if you wanted to, for instance, in my case, I have a sketch and a method, so I can toggle between both of them and select which one I'm slicing for. And once I'm ready to slice for it, I just hit Q, and that initiates the process for me to slice that part. And you'll see how that progress bar is going to be populated in just a second. The idea here also behind Cloudprint is for you to not consume your local resources, meaning it's not going to consume the memory in your computer to do the slicing process for you, right? Everything is taken care for you online, so that means there's no lag or no delay in your computer actually sort of using up its resources to slice the part itself. Everything is taken care through the server, and ultimately that's where you will be managing your queue. You'll see in a second, so it's 22% sliced. So you'll see how does it look like when it comes into my printing queue. But yeah, it's actually really cool. I think for me it's a really interesting feature just to be able to have that slicing process be taken care of in the cloud. And here you go. Now I have my 30mm gear present in my queue. And you can see, this is kind of, both of my printers are open right now, therefore there's no queued up elements except for this one. And I can, if I had more elements here, I could toggle back and forth between them, change the order of them, add more of them to the queue, and essentially have a better control over my printer. Now, once I've started printing, or once I've, let's just start that one file. Actually, it's already shown here in the queue, right? So I have, here it's kind of my workspace print jobs area within Cloudprint. It's divided into 3 main sections: the queue, printing now, and the recent history. Queue, well, of course it's a queue, anything that's already been submitted and ready to print. Printing now is if I had something printing right now, and I'll start one of these prints in just a moment. And finally, the recent history. Let's go ahead and start this print. So once it's in the queue, I can go ahead and hit Start Print Job. It's just going to ask me to confirm that I want to print it on the method, on my sketch here. I'll hear Start, Preparing, and that's it. Now it's moved from the queue into the Printing Now section. That sort of completes the slicing process for me, right? But more important than that, well, I don't know if it's more important, but it's as important probably now as that sort of slicing and queuing process is the recent history. Why is that important? Because it's really nice to finally be able to track down my recent, and it's not, it's not only my recent files, but it's all of the files that I've submitted to my printers from this platform ever, right? So I'm able to track all of this, like you see this wood texture 2, wood texture 2, 3, like all of these iterations. I can finally follow them through, and then if I wanted to, print them again, even download the files themselves, right? I can download the .MakerBot, I can download the print file itself for me to have locally, and here we go. And yeah, I think, one of the pain points for me has always been tracking that progress within my files. How do I know which ones have been printed on, which ones have successfully printed, and then if I have one that I really like, how do I print it again? With this queue management and with this history or recent history, I can finally do that, go back, share those files, reprint them, even reprint them in a different printer, which is also really interesting for me. I'm going to also cover, before I jump into the questions, cover some of the new features that have been released to Cloudprint, right? As I said before, Cloudprint is not entirely new, but there's a lot of new features that have been recently introduced to it. Cloudprint was introduced first, I think it was kind of like around this time last year, I think summer 2020. And originally we were just saying, well, the main feature is going to be you being able to control remotely and access remotely your printers. However, as we started adding features to it, we started seeing a lot more elements that sort of evolved from MakerBot Print and then increased the capabilities that were present at the time in MakerBot Print. Both of them are completely free. However, you'll be able to prepare your prints in both of them. You'll be able to monitor your prints remotely in both of them. but you will not be getting that sort of continuous flow of updates in MakerBot Print. As we all know, it's a desktop-based application. That means that every time that there's a new update, you have to download it and then restart your software or your computer, and then you get the update. It's always kind of a pain. With cloud-based software, that's not the case. And Cloudprint is free. It will always be free. There's no sort of paywall in it. There's no real gate there. So it's essentially free and always up to date. As soon as you load up the platform or the window in whichever browser you're using, then you're good. You got the latest and greatest of it. It's got the cloud slicing as well. It's not going to consume your local resources, as I said before. It's going to continuously update for any new materials that we released, and the slicing parameters for set materials, as we did last year with metal. Was it last year? I think it was earlier this year. No, earlier this year with printing metal. That's already available in Cloudprint. It would take us a little bit longer to support it in MakerBot Print, but with Cloudprint, we can immediately push those updates out and don't have to wait for either you or us to make any updates on the platform. All of the lab settings are available for you to play with in Cloudprint. That essentially means any possible setting that you would want to change on the slicing process, it's open for you to play with. You can reprint from your job history, as I said before. Having the job history is something that's hard to grasp the importance and the relevance at the very beginning, but incredibly useful, I would say, once you get used to it. And of course, being able to collaborate with your team members, being able to collaborate with other people from other locations, even if your printers are not locally accessible or physically accessible where you are, which is also great. And both of them are compatible with our suite of printers, right? Method, Method X, Sketch, Rep Plus, and the Rep series, the C18, even going all the way back to the 5th gen. New features specifically that were released during last spring. There's a lot of new custom print modes that are tightly related to the Labs platform, right? As I said before, the metals materials, all of the new materials that we've been exposing under Labs, present there. Then we also introduced the native CAD support. Previously in Cloudprint, you had to use STLs. Now we are able to upload many more parts: CAD part, DAE, IGES, IGS, OBJ. Like, you're probably familiar with many of them too. So essentially, adding that feature that was previously present on MakerBot Print, but now extending it to Cloudprint, right? And that's the idea. Cloudprint is going to. It's not only in pair with MakerBot Print, but it already has many features that MakerBot Print doesn't. And as it evolves, as it keeps getting more features, then you will want to have Cloudprint instead, because it's just going to be easier, right? Whether it's just because you stop thinking about making updates, or it's because you just want a more streamlined experience, Cloudprint is a much better place to look into. We added padded base as well for method. Padded base is a way to use, it's kind of an in-between between not using, actually using a raft and not using anything for the first layer. So it's going to create a very thick first layer that will probably remove the need for a raft to begin with. So really interesting feature. I like it a lot. Like, it creates like a very nice tight grip on your part to the build plate without sacrificing any sort of material for the raft itself. As I said before, many new expert settings that have been exposed in Cloudprint. I showed you like the single extruder sort of expanded volume. Once you disable the supports and sort of when you start printing with a single material, it expands your build plate for quite a bit, about an inch on the x-axis, and a little bit, just I think like a quarter inch on the y-axis. You'll see it here in the animation how as soon as the supports are disabled, then there we go. The took a little bit to animate, but it essentially allowed you to, or the animation to print a larger part. It's got a faster print preview that that's always kind of welcome. For you to be able to just go through all of the layers, make sure that everything is printing correctly and being sliced correctly as you'd expect it to. Much more reliability, and a few Cloudprint tips and tricks. This article is of course available in our resources section. If you go to resources, 3D printing resources, you can read all about it. But yeah, I'll jump back to the software itself and then start looking for any questions that you guys might have. Start a new print. Any questions that you guys might have on Cloudprint. As I said before, highly recommended. Personally, I was a little bit reluctant to get started to make the switch. As soon as I did, I was quite blown away, by the capabilities. And every time that they do a new release, you just sort of have to like it even more because you discover many more things that are available for you to use that were not previously with just the standard MakerBot print. A few questions coming in already. So, can Cloudprint be used for educational settings, managing large files? Yes. So one of the cool things about Cloudprint is that it allows you to manage the queue, right? As I said, or as I mentioned before, managing the queue will essentially allow you to, let me fade here, will allow you to have multiple files come in at once and then decide which files go to which printers, which files get prioritized first and then second, and not only that, but follow those files as they get processed in the system. Do I have to customize the settings on Cloudprint every time I go to print? Is there a way to save my settings? Yes, there is a way to save your settings. So for example, if I was to add a model, right, I'll just add the same gear here, 30mm gear. It's now importing that file. Here we go. And I'm going to go ahead and say, I want to change the base layer from raft to none, and I want to change the infill settings from, the density from 30% to 50%, right? As soon as I make those changes, there's this little button right here, create custom mode, that it's now accessible to me, right? I can just go ahead and click create custom mode, save those changes, and voila, I just have a new setting, set of print settings that I can just continuously use. Say I really like to print with multiple shell or more than 3 shells, different types of infill. I really like this material with this type of settings. You can definitely save those out and continuously use them as opposed to every single time have to change them manually. How many workspaces can I create? Is there a limit? Okay, let's talk about workspaces for a second now. Workspaces are essentially, it's kind of like a virtual office in a way. I was showing you here before where I have it. Here we go. So workspaces is going to represent two things. A group of printers and a group of users that are connected to those printers. You can have multiple group spaces that are allocated to different printers or to different users, and all that this is going to do is allow you to manage different populations of both printers and users. And yes, you can have multiple workspaces. So this is one of my workspaces. If I go to all of them, here we go. I can have as many as I want. I have this one, the VNF, which is for me and Vishnu, one of our fellow designers here. My own, I have an EDU workspace, and they all change and show me different printers depending on which one I'm connected to. So yeah, you can have as many as you want. Now, moving on into some other features in Cloudprint. Let me go back here. Yeah. So as I was saying, it's kind of interesting to see how stable the software itself is and how much it has grown. I would strongly suggest that you guys give it a try, even if you're not switching to it just yet. The fact that it's easily available, that you don't have to download anything, you don't have to pay anything, you just go to the Cloudprint site and click use Cloudprint now, or manually type cloudprint.makerbot.com. That is, here we go, cloudprint.makerbot.com, and you'll be able to access it, test it, access it. Oh, I may have not been sharing my screen when I was doing that quick demo. So do a quick rewind. Whenever you change any one of these expert settings here, once you're done changing those settings, you can just click create custom mode, and that's that is going to actually save that mode for you to use in the future, right? If you want a specific type of printing for a specific type of material, you can save it as a custom print mode, and essentially you don't have to recreate the print mode every time. What I was saying after I rewind it here a little bit is right. You should try test out Cloudprint. You know, even if you're not committed to it yet, the fact that you don't have to download anything, the fact that you just navigate to this site, that's what reminded to me, right? Just showing you guys the address. So cloudprint.makerbot.com, or if you go to MakerBot 3D printers and then under software and apps, click on the Cloudprint page. Use Cloudprint now. Just to test it out, right? There's nothing for you to lose. You're going to be using it on the browser anyways. And you know, get your feet in the water. See what you think. See how it's different or similar to the standard MakerBot print. I would strongly suggest that you try it out, just because there's a lot of really cool new features that are coming in here that might not be replicated in MakerBot print. So yeah, overall, really cool product. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. I had my issues with it at the beginning, and not issues, right? But as anybody, I was kind of reluctant to make the change. And so far, I've been genuinely impressed by it. So yeah, go try it out. And with that, I'm going to wrap things up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. You know, if you have any more questions, you can reach out at hello@makerbot.com, or Felipe, that's Felipe @makerbot.com, and we'll be happy to answer any one of those questions moving forward. But for now, thank you guys so much for joining today, and yeah, happy printing. Bye.